Hey, Shug here. Big question, is a hammock system lighter than a tent? Here we got a whole hammock system. We got my tent system. Is the hammock lighter? Is the tent lighter? There's a lot of variables. What season of the year is it? What state do you live in? Is it buggy? Is it not buggy? What kind of tent did you use before? This mainly applies to ultralighters. Ultralighters care more than people that don't care what they carry. So when they're switching to hammocks, they get concerned that they may gain a couple of grams or an ounce or two. Will you? Won't you? I don't know. I'm going to weigh a lot of stuff. I hate math. I'm doing this for you because I want you to know, because this comes up so often. Let's take a look at it right now. Yo, campers! All right, it's summer right now. So what I'm going to do is look at the system I'm sitting in right here, which is my DIY Black Crow tarp, my Warbonnet Eldorado hammock, my 40-degree Wilderness Logic Summer Series underquilt, my Jacks Are Better 40-degree top quilt, and I'm going to include the stakes I use for the tarp system and my tree straps, you know, my suspension, my toggle, tree straps, Dutch beaners, Dutch clips, and my Thermarest sit pad, which I always put in the foot box of my top quilt. For the tent demonstration is my recently purchased Henry Shire's tarp tent, Bowfin 1 one-person tent. So here we're looking at both systems. There's my Bowfin tarp tent, my pad. This is my top quilt, which I'll use on either one of these, and this is my hammock system right there. All right, I'm going to stuff the components in this stuff sack, lay it on my scale, and let's go to ounces. So that stuff sack is 2.47 ounces. I will hit the tare or tare button, and that will add that in. It'll minus that much, so now I can weigh the Bowfin, my pad, and my 40-degree Jacks Are Better top quilt right there. Alright, I got all that crammed in the stuff sack, and we'll put that on the scale. So we're looking at 4.522 pounds, which is actually 4 pounds, 8.3 ounces. 72.35 ounces. 2,051 grams. 4 pounds, 8.3 ounces. There's my Jacks Are Better 40-degree ultralight top quilt. That is 12.38 ounces. That is 351 grams. And here's my hammock system. So again, I'm bringing the 40-degree Jacks Are Better top quilt. This is my DIY Black Crow tarp. I always use a sit pad to put under my feet, so there's that, because I always use that with a partial underquilt. This is my Wilderness Logic Summer Series 40 degrees underquilt, no longer made because Marty passed away. And inside here is my Warbonnet Eldorado hammock. Has a bug net. It's an 11-foot hammock. It has whoopee slings hooked up with Dutch beaners on there. And this is pretty much what a whoopee sling is. It's an adjustable Amsteel 7/64 Amsteel, and a Dutch beaner right here is just a little clip, and I can clip that to the continual loop of my hammock. And I like doing that because that works as a water break if it rains, with rainwater running down the suspension, and it makes it easy to switch from hammock to hammock. These are my tree straps for my hammock, the ones I always use. These are the nice polyester ones. I trust them. I use a Dutch clip on the end to hook around the tree. Makes it handy. I use a marlin spike, and I carry these toggles right here. I carry 2 shepherd hooks made out of aluminum and 2 shepherd hooks made out of titanium. Don't ask me why. That's just what I do, and I do it every time. Alright, we'll put that red stuff sack on there and subtract the weight right there, and stuff it and see what the hammock system weighs. Alright, what I have here: hammock, top quilt, underquilt, stakes, tarp, tree straps, all done. Foot pad, 4 pounds, 12.6 ounces. 76.65 ounces. 2,173 grams. So really, they're not that far off for summertime camping. What we're looking at for the tent is 4 pounds, 8.3 ounces. What we're looking at for the hammock is 4 pounds, 12.6 ounces. So it's really going to depend on the kind of tent you're coming from. Now I see a lot of campers that have real heavy, I mean it's 2 people carrying a 4-person tent, or it's 1 person carrying a 1 or 3-person tent with heavy poles. You may be talking about something like an old Kelty tent that was fairly heavy by today's standards. You see some people with a Big Agnes lightweight tent, or a Big Agnes heavy tent, or an REI quarter dome, which is fairly light, or they're using some of the modern tarp tents like my Bowfin 1, or something even smaller like a Contrail or whatever. So it depends on the weight of your system you're currently using, how you camp, and what your style is. And if you're going to move over to a hammock, there's variables that come in, like my Eldorado here is an 11-foot, but if I were to use my 10-foot Blackbird, it still has a bug net, I'm probably going to knock off about 5 ounces. This system, the Warbonnet Blackbird 10-foot, that's why this is lighter. It's a 10-foot hammock, single layer with bug net, so we're knocking a foot of hammock material off. 1.39 pounds. And that is 19.89 ounces compared to the 25.66 of my Eldorado, which is an 11-foot. And in grams, we're looking at 564 grams. I'm using my DIY Black Crow tarp, which is basically about 15 ounces. But if I were to bring one of the DCF sort of Cuban fiber tarps, I could probably knock off 2.5, 3 ounces. Now I'll take my DCF, or what they call Cuban fiber tarp with an 11-foot ridge line. That's got doors, everything rigged on. We look at that compared to my Black Crow tarp, which is 15 ounces. Now we're looking at 9.9 ounces, 9.91 ounces, and that is 281 grams. That's going to save me 10.87 ounces off my normal Warbonnet Eldorado 11-foot hammock with removable bug net, so I can take that bug net off. So as you can see, variables just keep popping into this equation. And using the DCF tarp, which is like a lot of DCF stuff, takes a little more room, doesn't scrunch down as small, but I just love my Black Crow tarp because I made it. I can save a little weight there. So let's look at those weights compared to the Henry Shire tarp tent Bowfin. We're actually lighter with the hammock system now. And like I said, you can get lighter with your suspension if you want. Maybe you don't have an underquilt and you want to bring a pad or a closed cell foam pad. It may or may not be lighter than the underquilt. What I'm trying to just demonstrate here is that really a hammock system is not that much heavier than a tent system. Depending on the tent you use, depending on the hammock system you use, depending on what season of the year you start getting into fall. And here in Minnesota, and you know, we can also look state by state. Late fall here in Minnesota is pretty cool. So then I'm adding in 20-degree underquilts and top quilts and different insulation, but I may not need a bug net on my hammock, so I can lose that weight. If you're in a tent, everything's pretty much still the same. You're just going to increase your insulation and probably your pad. And we're not even getting into clothing and everything else in your pack. I hand dance there. All I can say is, in summertime, yeah, you can get a hammock system that will be lighter or equal to your tent weight, or maybe even right on par with a tent. So don't be scared to try it. Don't worry about it. That's just the way it goes. Woo, buddy. Shug here. I'll secure in Sector 7. Woo, buddy. I'm happy to say I got some Shug patches done. I'm thrilled with the quality of these. It's an embroidered patch. It's a 3-inch patch. Sew on or iron on with the fabric on the back. Just hit it with a hot iron and adhere it. I think they look real good. And they're available on Teespring right now. Link below. Woo, buddy. I just strained my brain. All that information and all that talking. I don't know what I'm gonna do.